This awesome, auspicious event is the first ever international family conference being held by Ziva Leadership Foundation. I hope you're as excited as I am. I'm so supercharged because I'm going to be transformed this weekend. So it's equip, evolve, and elevate. If you're excited like me, I want to see your reactions in the comments. So let me see and hear how excited you are. You can send an emoji, you can type in how excited you are. So let's get that moving in the chats. Welcome everyone. And if you know someone who should be joining this virtual conference, you need to be sending them the link right now so that they don't miss out on this event. So giving you 30 seconds to do that as we begin to dive into the meat of this event. So you're welcome once again, and just keep those feedback coming. Also in the chats, I want you to tell us where you're joining from. You're joining from Lagos, Abuja, Ontario, Mumbai. We want to know. Dallas, Texas. Put it in the chat. Let's know where everyone is joining from. Good. I can see the reactions in the chats. Welcome, welcome. Good, good. I'm super excited. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. We are so excited to have this event rolling out after months of preparation. So you're welcome. Thank you for joining. Let's know where you're joining from. Okay, Lagos, Nigeria. From the UK, fantastic. Port Harcourt, good. Akure, Ondo State, fantastic. Isolo, Lagos. United States of Port Harcourt, all right. Great, awesome. Welcome everyone. I can see Ibadan, I can see Jos, Zaria, Scotland, fantastic. Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone. Welcome. That is awesome, awesome. This beautiful evening here in Abuja, Nigeria, where we're going live from. I know it's morning in some other places, probably night if you're joining us from the other side of the world. So welcome everyone. Okay, we'll be going straight into the program for today. But first of all, just to give a brief intro about the covenants of this conference. This conference is being rolled up by Ziba Leadership Foundation, whose mission is to drive change through impact and foster a niche of solution-oriented people who are congruent with the needs of their societies. At its core, the foundation is dedicated to reconnecting people back to their original identity in Christ and empowering individuals to become agents of impact in their spheres of influence. The foundation has initiated several kingdom-centered projects such as the Ziba Women Leadership Initiative, which I was also fortunate to be part of, the Ziba Leadership Summer School and Leadership Academy for age 5 to 14, an amazing work being done among young people. And the Leadership Academy holds every Saturday, 9 a.m. on Zoom. And we also have the project Fifth Commandment and currently the International Family Conference. I can tell you all these projects are super, super, super impactful. I mean, I'm a product of one of those projects. So Ziba Leadership Foundation is doing great work, setting the pace, setting a completely new tone when it comes to non-governmental work in Nigeria. And that's the host of this conference. So you're going to be having a bit of the impact from Ziba Leadership Foundation these next 2 days. So just to move on and to save our time, I hope you've invited everyone who should be here, send them the links, reminded them that it's time. We'll be going forward as I bring up the founder of Ziba Leadership Foundation, Mrs. Anne Ekweme. So the next voice you're going to be hearing is her as she gives some background on this conference, and then we move ahead to all the speakers we have lined up for us this weekend. Cheers. Anne Ekweme is a fashion stylist and a social entrepreneur. She serves as the founder and creative director of Ziba by Anne Ekweme, a women's clothing brand in Abuja, Nigeria. She holds an MBA and a Values and Public Policy certificate from Oxford University, England. She is an alumnus of the London College of Style and is certified in entrepreneurial development from the Lagos Business School. She also holds various certifications from London College of Fashion. Anne Ekweme is a graduate of the Rema Bible Training Center, Nigeria, with specialization in societal leadership, and has founded a few initiatives which include Ziba Leadership Initiative, now called Ziba Leadership Foundation, and Purity Rocks, a forum that teaches and encourages spiritual and sexual purity amongst teenagers. Anne and her team periodically reach out to the satellite towns of the FCT Abuja with the gospel of Jesus Christ and entrepreneurial empowerment. Let's make welcome Mrs. Anne Ekweme to the International Family Conference 2024.
Blessed evening, everyone. Thank you all for honoring our invitation to join us for the maiden edition of the International Family Conference. Why are we hosting this conference? What is the purpose and what is the goal of the conference? Before I answer these questions, it is important for us to know that to shape the future, two things are required: being a historian and being prophetic. As a trained historian, I've observed the concepts of change over time, the casualties, and how these complexities change the context of our lives, particularly the family unit. History helps us understand how events in the past make things the way they are today. With the lessons from the past, we not only learn about ourselves and how we got here as a people, we also develop the ability to avoid mistakes and create better paths for our communities, societies, and the nation. As a practicing believer in Jesus Christ, my response to historical facts is not to make contingencies for the future. My position or approach is to become prophetic. Being prophetic is not about predicting the future. It is about creating the future. Because you can predict the future all you want, but if all that plan is not born out of the will of God, it will eventually fail. So, how do we create the future? First, by rejecting all lies. 2, through the word of God laid out in the Bible. 3, through prayer and giving voice to the things He speaks to your heart. 4, by embracing our responsibilities as parents. 5, by obeying the word of God. And I usually say this, that the fastest way to build capacity as a person or a parent is obedience, obeying the word of God. So, to the question, why the conference? The purpose of the conference is to help us make more informed and intentional decisions concerning building strong family values and including the truth, inculcating the truth in our children. To remind us that God has a plan and pattern of how we ought to function as families. Every human was created and placed in the family by God. In a family by God. To awaken us to the responsibility of parenting. To awaken us to the responsibility of parenting. Our responsibility to God. Our responsibility to our communities and to the nation as a whole. When we parent God's way, we develop in our children the ability for them to really become the leaders of tomorrow. Not groping in darkness, but being able to have that clarity on clarity of leadership. We're in the age of information where there is little control over what enters our spaces and its effects on our children. The landscape of education, particularly in Nigeria, has resulted in some children falling behind, largely due to no fault of theirs, and parents feeling hopeless or helpless. This conference is meant to equip parents and intending parents with effective strategies to close that gap and play a more active role in the education and the development of their children. We have watched certain narratives repeat over and again, that are detrimental to the family structure. This is an opportunity for us to change those narratives that are not congruent with our values as parents and the capacity of our children, and that are in direct opposition to the Word of God, thereby destroying the very fabric of our societies. What do we intend to achieve from this conference? What is the goal? We're hoping that you will reevaluate your role and parenting methodology. 2, we hope you look inwards and weigh the things that you have accepted and permitted as normal. 3, and finally, you will become more intentional with your children. Thank you very much, and I can't wait to bring up our keynote speaker, Mrs. Janice Okwanachi, fondly called Mrs. O.
Mrs. Janice Okwanachi, fondly called Mrs. O, was born American but proudly a naturalized Nigerian. She is an educator by choice. Mrs. O had her first degree in English education and sociology, a second in Christian education, and a master's in multidisciplinary studies. She also holds a certificate in international school leadership. She spent over 45 years in Nigeria, mostly in education, in Nigerian government and private international schools. Currently, she is the executive director and co-founder of International Community Schools and Christian Community Schools, both in Abuja, Nigeria. She is very happily married to Barrister Isaac Okwanachi with 2 children and 1 grandchild. She loves God, her family, friends, and children, and she loves traveling and learning. Let's make welcome Mrs. Okwanachi, Mrs. O, to the International Family Conference 2024.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to be a part of this special conference, and I want to thank the convener of the conference, Mrs. Anne Ekweme, for her vision, for her concern for families. She's given me a very interesting topic tonight. It's called Living and Overcoming Life with SEN. Well, I like talking about overcoming, and I just hope that this short message, short talk will help us in that direction. SEN, if you're not familiar with the acronym, refers to Special Educational Needs, and it's referring to the fact that there are some children that have learning disabilities and difficulties and maybe can't do exactly what other children of their age can do. And there are basically 3 types of special needs. The first is the developmental needs. This means like people who have delays in speech, difficulty with academic progress, They may have difficulty in communicating, difficulty in understanding and expressing themselves. That would be the developmental aspect. Then the second one is the behavioral or emotional issues, like people who have frequent outbursts, children who have difficulty following instructions, difficulty interacting socially with others. They may have problems paying attention and concentrating, and something like that affects their ability to learn. It also covers issues like anxiety and depression and those kind of things that could also impair their ability to learn. So we have developmental, we have behavioral, and the third one is physical or sensory. This could be like people who are visually impaired, hearing problems, or coordination problems, or in some cases even missing limbs. So you notice that in talking about these, I didn't use any labels. And there are lots of labels out there, probably too many. You've heard of ADD, ADHD, autism, Asperger's, dyslexia, and all kinds of labels. But it's really difficult. It's really not, I don't think it's the best to put a label on a child, because if you check out something like dyslexia or like Asperger's, and you go and look at all the things that could be typical in a person with that need, and then you'll try to attribute all those things to a child that may not even apply to them. So let's leave labels behind. I want to first of all confess to you that I'm not an expert in SEN. I've had some experience with a number of children, and I have a school where we deal with children with special needs. But personally, that is not my area of expertise. However, I would like to just share with you some things that I believe and some possible advice and things to keep in mind. And I hope and pray it'll be useful to you. First of all, there are three things I want you to have at the back of your mind. Number one, nobody is an accident. Nobody is an accident. God never makes mistakes. God never creates somebody and says, oops, I didn't do that right. No. God has made everybody the way He wants them to be. Some people that I've known feel ashamed. And I say that with a sad feeling, ashamed because their child has some special needs. No, 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 no. I believe with all my heart, and I've said this about my children and about every child, I believe God has put in every child, in every person, what they need to succeed in the plan He has for them. Can I say that again? God has put in every person whatever they need to succeed in the plan He has for them. Notice I didn't say the plan you have for them, the plan He has for them. So have that in mind. I can't help but think of somebody that maybe many of you have seen, either on video or on TV, a young man named Nick Vujicic. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing his name right, but he was born without arms and legs. And initially when he was born, his mother was afraid to hold him because she'd never expected to have a child like that. But God gave her the grace to accept it. And she actually, and her husband, but particularly she, because mothers usually are closer to their children in these ways, she told her son, she kept telling him, there's not another you. There's not another you. Don't give up. Do your best. And today he's a motivational speaker. He has a ministry. He reaches thousands upon thousands of people. That is just amazing. You would think he thought he couldn't do anything. He thought he couldn't, go to school. He thought he couldn't get married. He's married and he has 4 lovely children. And you see, so yes, he's not an accident. He's not an accident. And I can't help but think, what if his mother was one of those that understood that she was going to give birth to a child that wasn't normal and decided to abort him? What the world would have missed. if that had happened. So no one is an accident. That's number one. Number two, I want to say to you, if you are having a child with special needs, or you're working with one, or maybe you have one in the family, I want to say you can do this. You can do this. There was a little boy once who went to a supermarket with his father, and when they came out, the young boy was carrying a big bag full of groceries. And somebody looked at him and said, "Isn't that too heavy for you?" And the little boy stopped. And he just straightened himself. He said, "My Father knows how much I can carry." And I want to say that our Father in heaven knows how much we can carry. And if He's given you the responsibility to live with, to work with, to help somebody with special needs, you can do it. You can do it. That means God trusts you. He believes you can do it, or He wouldn't have given you that responsibility. So, no one is an accident. You can do this. The third thing I want to say is help is available. When I first came to Abuja, there was not much help available in the area of special needs, but now there is. And even beyond Abuja, of course, even on the internet, there's a lot of help available. You don't have to do it alone. And reach out and take advantage of some of these things. And work together with others. Do your own research. Now, I want to just say some things that I think we should do if we have this responsibility. Number one, believe in the child. Believe in them. Don't limit him. Don't limit her. Give them opportunities to grow and become all that they can be. It doesn't matter if they fail. Let them keep trying. Don't put a ceiling. Don't put a limit on what they can do. Let me tell you that some years ago, a family came to our school from another African country. They had 3 children. We admitted 2 of the children. The third child was about 7 or I'm not really sure, something like that. They were carrying him because he couldn't walk. He also didn't talk. But he had the most beautiful smile. I fell in love with him the first time I saw him. His name was Elijah, still is Elijah. And they didn't ask us to admit him because of his condition. But after a year or so, maybe 2 years, I'm not sure, they now brought Elijah back and said he's trying to walk. And he could walk a little bit on his tiptoes, holding something. And I said, yes, bring him. So we put him in a class, maybe lower, a couple years lower than his age. But you know what? He started to learn. He started to speak. And I can picture him now that when we had a performance, he would climb the stage with help and have a chair and sit while his classmates stood, but still participate. One day, his mother told me privately, she said, I want to tell you that Elijah's actually an HIV baby. And when he was born, we were told that he would be a cabbage. That's the word she used. I'm American, so we say a vegetable, meaning somebody who couldn't ever do anything, just exist, couldn't talk, couldn't walk, anything. But let me tell you that before Elijah left, he was doing all those things. Maybe not at the same pace as those his age, but he was on his way. When the family left, the father came to me and gave me an envelope, something that's never happened before or since. He gave me an envelope with $1,000. He said, I want to invest in this school because it's a ministry, it's a healing school. I thought, wow, that's not the end of the story. Several years later, that family came back to Nigeria. Elijah was now in grade 9. Elijah was using crutches, but he could get along. He was doing all of his subjects. He was struggling a bit with math. They discovered that he was very musical. He could write songs. You see, somebody said that he can't do it, but they were wrong. Men don't know everything. God knows everything. So let's believe in the children, believe that they can become more than what people say. God's ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are higher. So let's believe in the child. And then another thing I want to say is look for their gifts, look for their strong points. Everybody has gifts. Everyone has areas that they're good at. Recently, heard a story about a man who had 3 cows and he put numbers on them. Number 1 on one cow, number 2 on the second cow, number 4 on the third cow. And at a point, there was a storm and the cows got lost, and his neighbors helped him look for the cows, and they brought in number 1, and they brought in number 2, and they brought in number 4, and they kept looking and looking. And he said, "What are you looking for? They're all here." So we're looking for number 3. There wasn't a, you know, what I'm just trying to say is sometimes we're looking for the negative, looking for what the child can't do. Look instead of looking at what it can do, or she. So look for their strong points and then celebrate their milestones. Anytime they can do something that they couldn't do before, cheer them on and encourage them and celebrate. I also want to say that special needs children are a blessing. You know, we use that word special, and I hope we don't use it as euphemism. That's a tricky word. But sometimes we use flowery words to cover up something that's ugly. Like we don't want to say he died. We say he passed on, you know. So when we use that word special, let's not use it like a cover-up of something negative. Let's believe that they truly are special. They truly are special. Before I came to Nigeria, I worked in a nursing home, taking care of elderly people. I did that to earn my way through university. And I like doing that because I like helping people who can't help themselves. But there was one particular lady, she was Mongoloid, and she was like a child. She was 55 years old, but she was like she was 4 years old. She was playful, she was happy, she was joyful, and she just brought joy into the situation. One lady was talking about her child being a special needs child, and she said, nobody prays to have a child with special needs, but maybe they should. And that phrase hit me. Maybe they should, because there's so much to be gained from these people. And in our school, to be honest, I love admitting children that have needs, so long as they're not so severe that we can't actually help them. But I love it. Why? Not just because we want to try to help the child, but for a selfish reason. Bringing such children into a classroom brings about a change in all the children. They learn to become more patient, more tolerant, more caring, more empathetic. They become better people for the sake of the presence of that one. And so if there's a special needs person in your life, know that God has put that person there to make you better than you are and to develop you. Also, I want to say, don't compare these children with others, because you'll say, so-and-so is 9 years old and he can do this, and my child is 15 and he still can't do it. No. Don't compare like that. If you're going to do any comparison, you just compare the child where they are today to where they were yesterday or where they were last week, and celebrate the progress. I also want to say, if you have a special needs child in your life, don't overdo it. Don't make that the whole focus of your life, because you need to be balanced, and you need to have a life. You need to have other interests. You need to have time with your friends. You need to have outings. You need to have maybe hobbies, so that your whole life isn't just absorbed with this. And then also want to say, if you have such a child, please don't put all your attention there and neglect your other children. I met somebody in the U.S. and he was an adult. He had children of his own, but he was bitter. Why was he bitter? Because he had a brother who had issues, and his parents put all their attention on him, and this, my friend, felt neglected and bitter about it. So if you have such a child, don't put so much attention there that you don't have a time for the other people in your life, the other children, and your spouse. Don't put that person in such a place that you can't give attention to your to the others. And you know, as we are talking about a special child, I want to say that all children are special, whether they have a learning disability or not. They're all special. So don't put one above the other. So those are the things that I thought to share with you. And because I'm not a professional in this area, I also checked with somebody else who is and asked her to jot down some things, and she did that for me. I was happy to see that many of the things she said were similar to my own thoughts, but she also had some things that I didn't mention. So if I still have time, I'll just like to run through those. Yeah. She also said, don't put a label, don't focus on the diagnosis, but focus on improving the child in whatever their areas of weakness are and build on their strength. She said we should set targets for children within their limits, and whatever we're doing with them to help them learn, make it fun, make it interesting, make it exciting. And she said children also, all children, but especially special needs children, they like routine. Don't be doing things different every time. Give a pattern to the way you work with them, and they will follow better. She also talked about taking breaks as parents. She said you should go to the spa. I didn't think of that. But she said even if you need counseling yourself, you need encouragement, you need a vacation, she said you should refuel to refire. Another thing she pointed out, she says that we should be empathetic, not sympathetic. That is, the child doesn't need our pity. That pity doesn't help anybody. But just to try to feel where they are and move with them when the going gets tough for them, just keep going with them. And you just toughen up with them. She said that in as much as we like to reward good behavior, but there also have to be consequences. There are times when children don't want to cooperate and they can, then don't be afraid to include some consequences. She also mentioned collaborations. She also said what I said, you can't do it alone. She said you should make use of grandparents. I'm a grandparent, by the way, just became one. But I love working with my grandchild. He doesn't have any issues as far as I know, but use these people, teachers, Sunday school teachers, aunties, professionals, and don't just think this is all your job to handle on your own. And then she said denying that your child has a challenge will only delay the process and stunt their progress. So please, she put that in capital letters, embrace the new normal and focus on finding God's purpose in it all. Yes, I do remember that one child was brought to our school. This was many years ago, and she actually had serious behavioral problems. And her parents said she had no problems. They were in total denial. That didn't help us because it was so hard to work with them because they were not giving us any support. Denial doesn't help. And then she also said that every person's behavior serves a purpose. I thought this was interesting. Like if a child is acting out, maybe they just want attention, or maybe they're trying to escape and avoid something you want them to do, or maybe they need something, they want something, So I thought that was important to think about, not just how the child is acting, but why. Try to figure out what is their purpose in their behavior. And okay, I'll stop there. But bringing the session, this talk to a close, I just want to remind you, if you have this type of person in your life, thank God. Thank God. You are chosen for a special task. And you, people who have this assignment from God, I'm not making it sound easy because honestly I haven't worked or lived with somebody like this day and night like you. Maybe for a few hours, and I know how draining it can be. So I say to you, people who you have these children and you're working with them, you're not just heroes, you're superheroes. I thought of it this afternoon that if a child jumps into a pool and somebody jumps in to save them, they'll say they're a hero, they've saved their life for something that they did that took less than a minute. but you, what you're doing with the child. It's minutes, it's hours, it's days, it's weeks, it's years. You're not just a hero, you're a superhero. And that, I also think about an athlete that works hard, uses all their energy, and just to win maybe a trophy. But you're working for something more valuable than a trophy. You're impacting a life, a precious life, valuable in the eyes of God. So I say my hat's off to you. I say take hold of help from wherever you can, but especially from God himself. Since he gave you the job, it's his also to give you the enablement. God bless you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Four.
Okay, welcome back everyone. I hope you enjoyed that amazing session by Mrs. O. If you did, please can I see you showing her some love in the chats? That was really, really amazing. I think I just loved the simplicity of the presentation, and everything was just like, hitting straight to the point, hitting home, and I could just paint a picture of what it means to, be able to overcome SEN. I think I was really blessed. Thank you so much. Okay, so I have on set Mrs. E, who you've heard from at the beginning. So yeah, we'll be just taking your questions. So please, if you haven't typed in your questions in the chats, please do that now. We'll be taking your questions as well, because I always believe people are helped more many times by getting their own questions answered. But just to kick off the discussion, I'll be throwing one to Mrs. E right here. So you had a son who didn't speak till he was 4. And so I wanted you to just maybe give us how that felt. How did you deal with that, especially on the background of what Mrs. O has shared? She shared ways you can cope with it, what you should do. Well, how did that look like from your own experience?
It wasn't particularly easy. It wasn't at all. But one thing I know that I never did was never label him. I never called him anything. I mean, there was the diagnosis of ADHD, whatever. I never did. We were asked to, advised to give him medication. Thank God for my husband who refused. So it wasn't easy, but somehow I think the Lord insulated me in a way. Yeah. So and that's, by the way, that's how I met Mrs. O.
Wow.
So yeah, because the first time I walked into the school, I was in absolute distress, like absolutely. And then I said to her, okay, this is the situation. My son had been asked to withdraw from his previous school. What do I do? And the way she spoke to me, I said to her, even if you don't admit this child, right, just thank you. And the fact that someone was able to empathize with me and see where I was coming from, it was just, it was mind-blowing. And then, so yeah, but it wasn't easy at all. But the thing I never did was call it a name. There was no name for it. In fact, my son, who is 20 now, yes, he's 20 now, thriving very well in the UK. He's living his dream, to be honest. He's one child who's been very focused from day one. I mean, he knew this is what I wanted to do from day one, and that's what he's doing now. He got into a university in the UK that's number one for his course that he wants to study. So it was maybe 3 years ago that he needed to do a transition, and they said, okay, they needed to do an evaluation, and he asked me, Mommy, so why am I doing the evaluation? And that's when I said to him, oh, well, when you were 4, you didn't speak. He didn't know. So there was no labeling. Yes.
Wow. I'd like to ask a follow-on question. So you emphasize so much on the fact that you didn't label. And I want to know, where do you think that came from? Because I'm not sure if that's normal. I don't think that's normal for everyone. Where do you think that understanding of not labeling come from?
I don't, okay, so for me, it was a situation whereby I remember we were in the UK at some point, and we went for this diagnosis, right? And then the therapist did a lot, wrote a lot, and they said, oh, this, that. And So I asked them one question. Is there anything like a medication? Is there something that, he said, oh no. And at that point, I said to myself, if you tell me I have malaria, you're going to give me anti-malaria. If you don't have anti-malaria to give me, then, hey. So for me, it was like, and that was when I said, no, I'm not going to, yeah. I mean, I didn't live in denial. He got help. He got speech therapy. He got all the help that he needed, to be honest. But I just didn't focus on the weakness. I focused on the strength, and I focused on the faithfulness of God, and just was grateful that God has trusted me with such a gift.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. So following on from that, Mrs. O, she said when she came to your school, she was in absolute distress. So what would you say to that parent? Because, I mean, I'm not sure much has changed. We keep talking about this, but I hope it's changing a little bit. But what would you say to that parent who is like, I have had it, I don't know what to do, and is, having a hard time? What would you say to that parent?
Wow. I don't really remember what I said. But I would speak hope. I would speak faith. I would tell them, as I said, that you can do it. It's a trust from God. But I'd just like to add something to what you said about labeling. A label, like if you say he has dyslexia, it's like he has diabetes. It sounds like a disease. And that's why I think it's just not helpful to do that. But I think what I would try to say is some of the things I said this evening. And I would also not make promises I couldn't keep. I would just say, give us a chance and see what we can do. And I also want to say something. At the time you brought your son to us, we didn't have a special needs person or a department. But what we did have were teachers who could love. And I want to say love finds a way. If you love a child, you'll try different things, you'll ask God for help. And I think it wasn't only your son, there's several others that were helped wonderfully, just because teachers would go the extra mile to spend with them, love will find a way.
That's interesting.
Let me just add to that. I remember one afternoon I came and I saw Mrs. Zion outside and she was praying. And I said, what are you doing? She said, oh, I'm praying for Akka. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And he was, when he got in, by the next quarter, he was the most improved child. He was the most improved child. So yes, it was that community of love. He felt really welcome. And so that ambience of love, you can't beat it.
Yeah. I said that's interesting because I was just coming here. I got on a post and the caption was "Love finds a way."
Oh.
Like absolutely, like love never fails. Love never fails. Wow, thank you. I also have another question. So, thinking about community, did you have any community, or was it just you, your husband, and was it just, did you have any support of any kind from community, whether family, church, I don't know, did you have, can you think of, at any points, can you think of anything?
The only community that I eventually had, was International Community School.
Wow.
Exactly, International Community School. But before then, there was none. In fact, the previous school that before I moved to I moved to Abuja in 2008. So we were living in Port Harcourt at the time. And I remember one day I brought him to school, and the assistant teacher saw us from a distance and starts to said in Pidgin English, today, as in, we will see how today will go. And sort of like mocking And that was the day I said, I will never, ever shed a tear of sorrow concerning this child. And instantly when she did that, I saw what the devil was trying to do, right? So, and that was the day I said, no way, right? So, I mean, my husband, pretty much, that was all that we had just us. And because a lot of people still don't understand it. In fact, I remember then again in St. Port Harcourt, they were having some school event, right? And I was sitting in the middle of two women, and he came, and because he didn't have speech at the time, he was just 3, and just because he couldn't speak, he couldn't communicate, so he was a bit, restless. And these women said, I don't know how some women train their children, and I was sitting right there, and my face was, like really, I didn't even act as though it was my child, right? So a lot of people still don't get it, right? So they didn't even understand it at the time. So to be honest, I had my husband and I had myself, and we had God, so we were fine until we found International Community School. Yes.
Awesome. Wow, thank you so much. When you were speaking, you said something about the fact that you don't have to be alone. And I think that's something very interesting, that you have God, who can help you. Wow, so interesting. I'd like to ask a question from online. Someone is asking, is there a need for a special curriculum for children with special needs, or should they be encouraged to learn alongside their colleagues?
They should learn alongside their colleagues, but what we do is do some adaptations. Okay? Maybe they don't have to do all the things that other children do. They should study the same topic. They should be exposed to the same thing. They should be as much as possible with the other children, because when they finish, they're going to go out into the real world, not going to be isolated. So we don't want to isolate them. Once in a while, just to take out to give them extra help. But it's important, I think, for them to stay with their peers.
Yes, that's perfectly. All right, good. So maybe running off from there, how did your son cope? So I don't know how the international community worked with him, but did he at any I think he probably didn't answer it, but did he at any point feel like, oh, I'm falling back, or I'm different from my peers, or something like that at any point in time? Like if he's being mainstreamed into the class. Did you have any?
I mean, I'm sure he probably had a few challenges here and there, but it wasn't anything major, that because he was in the same class with everyone else, and also there wasn't, the times when he would just say, he's tired and all of that, but to be honest, somehow I think the Lord just insulated us. That's the truth. That's how I choose to put it, because we never focused on it. He was just living his life.
Yeah.
He was just living his life and just focusing a lot on his strengths. And I'll say to you that this is one child that I don't necessarily say anything to him twice. He's the child that keeps my money right now. Yeah. He is. He's got integrity. And integrity is not something that is very cheap. He has integrity. So, so he may have, but I don't think it was a big deal.
Awesome.
It was a big deal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that would come from the fact that there was no label anyway around him. So he didn't grow up having like, oh, there's something special about me, and I need to pay attention to it and all that. So, awesome. Another question for you, Mrs. O. In your years as an educator, are there common challenges that parents of children with special needs face? How can they overcome those challenges? So are there common challenges?
Well, some tend to be overprotective and oversensitive, and you know, of course, such children can be bullied.
Yeah.
They can be victims, but if a parent is overprotective, you will interpret something as bullying when it's not really. We've had that, and you know, so it's a bit touchy because we want the children to not be bullied, of course, but to also to be strong, not to be so protective that they're weak and that they, you know, get easily crushed. We also want them to, you know, have that inner strength to stand.
Yeah, I think you touched on that in your talk, you know, about being firm with them, you know. When they do something wrong, don't be afraid to give out the consequences because they are also children, they need to learn. Yeah.
And also, if they are aware of their challenge, their weakness, you don't want to allow them to use that as an excuse for not doing what they can do.
Absolutely. Wow. Awesome. Interesting. Okay, so we have more questions. Should consequences for a child's action be physical? If not, wouldn't it be the same as sparing the rod and spoiling the child? So maybe you should answer that.
What's the question again? Sorry.
Should consequences for a child's action be physical? If not, wouldn't that be the same as sparing the rod and spoiling the child?
So this question would depend on what continent and what country you're asking from, right? So if you're asking from Africa, of course there is place for the rod, right? And again, that's why we're having this forum, because the world has distorted what training is, right? And you know, labeling, trying to put your child straight as abuse, right? So I'm a firm believer in, yes, using the rod, right? Appropriately, right? I mean, not use your hands, not do it when you are angry, you know, not lash out at them. If they're listening to me, they'll be like, yeah, right, mommy, when? So I had to learn that. My husband had to say, you know what, he always said, you know, you can't lash out when you're upset, right? So yes, I had my years of doing that, right? I would even threaten them that if I get a call from any teacher, I want to come to school, you know, and all of that. So yes, there's a place for that, but then you have to do that under the guidance of the Holy Spirit. That's the thing. So again, for parents, it's important that we're very temperate, extremely temperate, so that we're able to communicate why we are doing what we're doing, right? So, I mean, you don't react when you're angry, calm down, walk away, or, you know, just give it time. You need to be able to have a conversation and tell the child, I am flogging you because you did this. You know, this is, you know, and all of that. So communication is key. And this is one thing that is not very common with us here, Africans, right? We just feel, hey, it's my child and I don't owe you an explanation. I'm a parent, I pay rent, right? So, you have to behave, right? So, but that didn't do us a lot of good. Some of us turned out very aggressive, you know, so there are better ways to deal with the children. But of course, there is the place for that.
Okay, so as a school, as an educator now, from maybe the perspective of the school.
Let me speak as a parent first.
Okay, I'm a grandparent also.
I have a stepson. My husband lost his first wife just after the baby was born. And so this child grew up the first 3 or 4 years with his grandparents. And you know what grandparents are like. They shout a lot, but they don't do anything. So when he now came to live with us, you know, I would warn him, I would caution him, I would threaten him. But the truth is, as parents, we do what works. And the only thing that worked with him was that. So, and at a point I felt like, oh, I'm such a wicked mother. I'm beating him all the time. But it was the only thing that worked until he finally realized that I wasn't like his grandparents, that if I threatened, I meant it, you know. And then, but I think also what she said is so key. Even if you do physically punish them, talk, explain, you know, As a school, we don't allow it. We don't allow any kind of physical punishment, not even kneeling down or putting a book on your head or whatever, you know. But we believe in discipline. We believe in consequences, and so we have that. But we leave the right to the parents.
Okay, play it
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's acceptable. Wow, thank you so much. We have one last question here, and it says, what is the greatest challenge for children with learning disabilities? So obviously there are different types of learning disabilities, different levels in the spectrum, but what would you think are the key challenges, the greatest challenge for children now with learning disabilities?
I'd like to hear from Anne but, on that. But
Okay.
I would say that the key thing is for them to not look down on themselves. We want to believe in them, but we also want to teach them to believe in themselves. So motivation, I think, is key. But you may have more to add.
I would say sometimes they're probably confused.
Yes.
They're probably confused. They don't understand why they're not the way other children are. Why they're not invited to parties the way other children are. So I think there's a lot of confusion on the inside of them. So I think that's the main thing. Yes, because that tends to lead to identity crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So they're confused. Why am I like that? And because sometimes they're not able to verbalize these things, it becomes, so they keep it in there, you know, and then with the wrong counsel or wrong community or exposure, it turns to something else. But I would say that it's the confusion and maybe isolating them and just not having the right adults around you who call you names, even at home, right? Even at home, because you can have domestic workers at home, not even siblings, but you may even have domestic workers at home who don't even know. Let's not even say mean, but they just don't know. Yes, so they're used to people talking anyhow to them, right? So hey, and they just take it out on you, especially if your mom is mean to them, you know, and also, but the main thing is that confusion that is on the inside of them, which may eventually lead to identity crisis, you know, and or if not managed properly.
Yeah.
That's why they need to be affirmed all the time, and that's why you can't keep singing the labels around them and all, and just you must see the strengths and focus on the strengths.
Wow. This is really, really interesting. You know, I have a few questions around community, because the topic says overcoming, right? So, I mean, you've spoken that while you were having to work with your son, it was just, you know, I want to say my wife and I, you know, kind of situation. It was just you, you know. So, I mean, we need to build community. Those children are going to go to church, they're going to go to school, they're going to go to so many other places. How do we go about building this community so that if such a child comes to maybe my church, they find support there, you know, and they are less likely to be ridiculed, they're less likely to be called a name, they're less likely to be excluded, or let's even look at it from the perspective of the community. The community is more enabled and ready to actually accept them. So what comes to my mind is people with physical disability. So over the years, we've heard that, oh, make sure you have ramps so that people who need to use the wheelchair can come in. So you begin to make buildings with those things in place. So now talking about learning disabilities now, how do we help our communities, those different, even extended family, how do we begin to help them to be ready, you know, to be equipped? It's equip, evolve, and elevate, right? So how do we equip our communities? What's the trigger? What should be done? So this might be beyond our pay grade, but like as an educator, I can think about what's happening in the teacher training. You know, how do we get this narrative out there so that the society becomes more and more aware and in it, because a lot of people just simply don't know what to do. They're just like, how do I deal with this? So the next thing is like, oh, don't come here. But how do we equip people?
I think our governments first have to accept that they need to pay a lot of attention to children first. I was going to say, it's very painful to think that we don't even have schools, not to talk of special needs centers, right? So if the government, okay, so let's leave the government now. So I'm thinking aloud, how do we create this community? Are parents just going to decide to come together and do these things? Do our churches understand that there are people who have these needs and the teachers require training? That it is not about anyone who says, I want to be in children's ministry. I dreamt I'm a children's teacher, and you put them there. It's not because you want to build that. I met someone who I had a conversation with in the States last year. A very disturbing conversation, I must say. He said to me, he goes around churches when they invite him, and he would leave his curriculum with the children's church teachers because he knows that the pastors are not concerned about what's going on there. So his curriculum is being digested very well because the pastors are not interested. And I looked at that statement and I was looking for the lie. I couldn't find it. Right? So if we as a people would pay a bit more attention to the children, not just our children, but to the children, maybe a few things will be done a bit better. Maybe if we cared enough, we wouldn't just pick anybody to
run the most important
to run the most important ministry, right? And also, yeah, like you said, that question is way above my pay grade. So they're just it's a very sore spot for me because every day I drive, I see children who deserve better. But there's no hope. But what we don't realize as adults or the government or the people is that until every child is safe, no child is safe. We think that the children who are growing up in the IDP camps are not growing. They probably have stronger immunities than our children.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they're all growing up at the same pace. Where are they going to operate? In the same place, right? So there's just a lot that needs to be done. But then maybe the woman would rise and not just build a home, but build a society, hopefully.
Yeah. Wow.
So many thoughts are going through my mind as I'm listening to her. She said, every child deserves so much. I actually took somebody into the family who is a relative who was about 8 years old. We didn't know for sure. Never been to school. Didn't know the alphabet. We had to put him again a few grades lower, but he quickly caught up till he was where he was supposed to be. It turned out he was extremely intelligent. And I thought, there's so many children like that that don't have the chance of, they could become somebody and something. They could have so much to, So I don't know how to help at the government level, but let's just calm down.
Yeah.
Before we put a child, a special needs child, special child, in with all the other special children, because I said they're all special. We educate them. We tell them this child has this. What he will need from you is this. How you will help him, and then they're prepared.
Okay.
So I think also maybe if your child is going to Sunday school, you can also have that conversation with the teacher and maybe with the children, just on your own level. Do what you can to make that child feel accepted and understood.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What I got from that is going back to your talk. You said that parents with special needs children have been given a special assignment by God. So perhaps their assignment is actually to educate others. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes. So you have to, understand that you've actually been given an assignment. And that assignment doesn't just end in your own space. It's an assignment to take a gospel, right?
Yes.
into the world and be bold about it. Just like you said, you decided that I'm not going to cry over this child. I'm going to be bold and courageous. So you probably have to just, whatever space you're in, you want to help people okay, look, this is my child and this is what my child needs. And over time, we grow that community.
And I want to say that she was very good at that. I remember a time when I wanted to say something about her child, about the progress he was making or something, I don't remember. But she just looked at me like, what problem? I don't have a child with a problem. I had to kind of swallow my words, I'm sorry, for mentioning it, because she didn't have any problem with the child.
Oh, wow. I never remember that. Wow. Thank you so much. I think my perspective has evolved, definitely. So I'm on number 2 now. Awesome.
And you're getting
sure. Yeah, exactly. This is amazing. There's a lot that needs to be done. Just like you said, I never knew the word dyslexia until I went for my master's in the UK. And I'm sure there are lots of children who are dyslexic and who were failing and who were being knocked on the head by their teachers. But the problem was, you just need to change the teaching style a little bit, and that'll be all. So there's a lot that needs to be done in all our communities, children's communities, helping to equip teachers, every kind of support, family members, to help children. Wow. It's been an amazing discussion. And people online, I hope you have been equipped to overcome SEN and you're evolving. I have already started evolving. And I think in my own little space, there are a lot of resources online. I'll begin to, make this to mainstream into every community that I am in. So thank you so much, Mrs. O, for being on set today, and Mrs. E. I think maybe I should call myself Mrs. A.
Exactly, Mrs. O.
Just to be in the party. So thank you so much. It's been an amazing discussion. Thank you, Ma, for sharing. So
let me just say something in conclusion, that if you have a special needs child or a special child or children, especially like Mrs. O said, take the lead. Take the lead. Don't allow anyone dictate the narrative.
Yeah.
Yes.
You tell your story. You get in front of that driver's seat. Sit in there. It's your responsibility. It's your gift from God. And every single thing that the Lord permits is redemptive. Every single thing that the Lord permits is redemptive. And every day I learn that nothing works against me. Nothing. As long as I'm in Christ, I'm called, nothing works against me. So just get there, be bold, be courageous, and just change the narrative. Tell the story yourself.
Yep.
Tell the story yourself. Okay. By the way you live, by the way you show up, by the way you do everything. Don't let anybody tell the story for you. It's your story to tell. So get in front of the camera.
Thank you so much for those words. Wow,
Yeah.
thank you, everyone. We still have one more session, so don't go away. We'll be right back. Wow. So welcome back, everyone. Wow, I hope you were blown away by that session, just as I was. So first of all, I'd like you to put in the chat your takeaway from those two sessions, the talk itself and then the chat I had along with Mrs. E. What was your main takeaway? I got a lot of things. One of the things is that as a parent of a special needs child, you are on assignment for God. It's actually a special assignment from God. I also learned that every child is actually special. And that's really true because you can't treat every child the same. So I want to hear from you, what were your main takeaways from that session? Were you equipped in any way? And have you evolved in any way from those sessions? So let me see what you've learned from those sessions. So let's see that in the chats. For me, it's been super amazing already. Really, really impactful. So let me hear from you. Okay. Okay, so while I'm waiting for your chats and comments to drop, I think I'll just keep sharing more of the things I learned. As both Mrs. O and Mrs. E were speaking, what really came to my mind was community. How do we build a community? You know, we have this African proverb that says that it takes a community, it takes a village, you know, to raise a child. So how do we build that village? How do we equip the village, you know, to be ready to support families with special needs children and the children themselves? How do we build that community? So if you have any thoughts along that line, please do well to drop them in the chat as well, because we also are a community, aren't we? So in this next 2 days, we are a community and we should be learning from each other. So how do we equip our communities to overcome SEN, to cooperate with it, to support children with SEN, families with SEN? So if you have thoughts around that, of course, do well to put them in the comments as well. All right, so here I have people, don't label any child. Absolutely, don't label any child. I think the power of words is one thing that we should take to heart. So even beyond special needs, you know, just any kind of label, we shouldn't put that on our children. So awesome. Yeah, someone also learned that there's a new normal, which is to love the special child and not label them. Yeah, I also learned that love always wins. You know, when you don't know anything to do, just love. Love never fails. So yeah, absolutely. Love, love, love. Then yeah, tell your story. Absolutely. I think there's a quote that says, no one knows where the shoe is pinching you. Only the person wearing the shoes knows. Yeah, so don't take it as your cross. Take it as, you know, a special challenge that God has given you and that you're equipped for it. I think one of the first things Mrs. O also said was that you're equipped for it. It says your Father knows how much you can carry. So don't feel like, you know, the weight of the world is on you and you can't carry it. No, you can't carry it, because whatever you're giving is specially purposed for your your structure, who you are. Whatever comes to you was planned with you in mind. Yeah, I think that's one thing that we should know. And I think as a community, one of the things we can take away from this conference and from this particular session is, if you have families around you, parents around you who have children with special needs, I think one thing that you can do for them is to encourage them to not feel like they're disadvantaged, like something bad has happened to them, but for them to be able to come into that space where they take up the challenge and say, okay, look, we're going to do this. We're going to make the best of what we have. And it's not a bad thing. It's just a different thing. It's a different challenge. And we've been specially called, you know, to be different. So why not? We take it on. So you should be that person that is helping them see that perspective of this special task. You know, that's what comes to my mind is being in the special forces, you know. So yeah, they're in the special forces. And beyond that, now taking this narrative to every community where we are and being the champion for special needs children. So if you're in a school, if you're a parent, as you attend your parent-teachers meetings, you know, you should be dropping in those awareness about the school's preparation to accommodate children with special needs. If you attend a church, you should be bringing that to the children's church leadership, asking them if they've ever thought about making provisions for children with special needs. So when people start getting this awareness, you know, then change begins to seep in, because they begin to see this as a thing, you know, an issue, and they are more prepared to accommodate such children. Of course, schools and churches are two of the main places where our children socialize, and then the family as well. So we do well to take, it may look like little knowledge, but it can do a lot as the quote also says, a little fire, can light up the whole forest. So take your little fire and go light the forest. Yeah, I have more comments here. Someone says, no child is an accident. Absolutely. Years ago, I heard someone say, there are no illegitimate children. There are only illegitimate parents. So yes, no child is an accident. That child was sent by God, created by God for a purpose. And you are that special parent that has the special chance to raise that child. Awesome. Okay, yeah. Having a child with a special need is not a bad thing. It's just a different thing, absolutely. Wow, thank you everyone for sharing. We're going over to the next session very soon, and we're going to be talking about extracurricular activities. For many parents, when it's particularly holiday, they are getting hysterical, like, what am I going to do with these children all day long, for 5 weeks or 4 weeks, depending on how long the holidays are. So we're going to be learning what we can do, extracurricular activities that can help our children develop, help us to bond with them, because relationship is really what parenting is about. So we'll be learning about that. And our speaker is on standby, and very soon she will be giving us that equipping another. So we're taking it to gear 2, and we'll be doing that. So yeah, she's on cue to come on. Ufoma Anyamaka is a believer in Christ Jesus, a passionate teacher and educator. She is a graduate of industrial mathematics and holds a PGDE and various certifications in child psychology, among others. She is the academic director at Harvest Christian Academy, a Cambridge international school in the heart of Accra, Ghana. She has 12 years experience in education, spanning across classroom management and delivery, instructional design and curriculum design, both development and implementation, supporting children with learning disability, and general school administration. She is committed to inspiring and equipping young minds with the ability to unleash their full potentials as future leaders and change agents of society, while equipping parents, teachers, and learning institutions with the right tool sets to do the same. So let's make welcome Ms. Ufoma Anyamaka to the International Parenting Conference 2024. Awesome, you're welcome. Welcome.
Good evening.
Can you hear me? Good evening, awesome.
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, I can. So you're on set and you're ready to hear what you have for us about extracurricular activities. So over to you as you take your session. And then I'll be back when you're done to ask a few questions and we'll learn some more. So thank you. Over to you.
All right. So good evening, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. I want to thank the host, Mrs. Annie Kwame. Mrs. Annie Kwame, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like to thank the host for the program. My name is Mrs. Ufoma Anyamaka, like it was earlier said. Am I still on? Okay.
Yes.
So today we'll be talking about extracurricular activities, and like Mrs. O has already said earlier, there was one striking statement she made. We shouldn't treat the special children differently. We shouldn't feel like they're so different from the society, right? From the mainstream children in the classroom. And so, what are extracurricular activities? These are other activities that we can do to improve cognitive development in our children. And so, today we'll be sharing with you some practical steps, and we're asking that you make out time for these children. I would like to say this, right? Children are family, and family is children. What do I mean when I say that? Children love to be with their family. They love to be with mommy. They love to be with daddy, right? And mommy and daddy actually love to be with them, but then again, they have to go to work. They have to do a lot of other things. So how best can we be with these children? How best can we engage them aright in order for them to be fully equipped, right? Not just being with gadgets all day, not just being by themselves all day, and there's no creative play that would improve their cognitive development and abilities. So I'll be sharing with you some that have been helpful, and I trust you'll be blessed by it. Um, so the first on my list is reading. Oh, but they read books already. Can't they just take a break from read? Why do they have to read? Why do children have to read? Why do they have to be on their books all the time? And then I would ask the question, why do you think that they have to be on their gadgets for 10 to 15 hours and not take a break at all, right? And reading is so important to the child's mind. And we say making out time to read with the children for 15 minutes, just reading with them, right? I want to use a scenario from the Bible. I remember during the time of Enoch, the Bible says that Enoch was in the midst of his children, his grandchildren, right? He had a lot of things with him, right? And yet he could still make out time to find a quiet place with God. Why do we feel that these children will be distractions to us when we are having our quiet time, when we're reading our Bibles? Who says they can't you can't take them through the habit of sitting quiet with you while you read your Bible, and they also read theirs, and then they can ask questions and you both can share, and then you've built a relationship with this child, right? Reading is important. When you do it with the child really, really loves it. So as we prepare for the summer holiday that is coming up very soon, right, I want to encourage us. It's not a difficult thing to do. Get books, and don't just buy books from off the shelf, right? Get books that will inform them aright. Books that would also equip them aright. When you get such books, you could either read the cover page, that's the back cover page, the summary, and then have read it, then probably come back to you while you're probably cooking or doing your laundry or checking out the house activities. You could actually tell them, okay, so tell me about the book you read today. I think that would be more engaging than having them spend the entire day just probably watching the cartoon or being on their gadgets, basically. Another activity that helps to build bonding is cooking. As fun as it might not be for a lot of us, but maybe making it a family tradition of once in a week would really go a long way to help the children. As we're talking about young children right now, we're talking about children between 6 to 14, basically. Yes. Even the younger ones, they could have a make-believe kitchen at the corner, and it doesn't have to be so elaborate, right? You could give them some old utensils that are not harmful, and they could just, they would find pleasure in using it. They will, at least I am usually in classroom and I see how they just want to make do with, no matter how little it is, they just want to make do with a lot of things. So getting them to school is also very, very important. And it helps actually to build a lot of social skills, right? It helps to build a lot of social skills because they are going to need friends to come in. That's teamwork, is also collaboration. And for children, maybe children who are alone, what else would they can do pretend play with the kitchen setting. And it's something that they love to do, but you too could also help them by keeping them around. Okay. Another thing is music education, right? Music education is so powerful. You right now watching me, you love music. Everybody likes the rhythm of music. I love music. You love music. Um, though some of us we sometimes sing out of key, but come on, we still love music, right? And 0 to 3 years children, I discovered really, really do love music. They love to either sing, they love to either dance, a form of making music. Everybody taps to it. And um, I can't go far without even they had to play the harp when that was in distress. So you can imagine the pop music, right? And it's beautiful because we we think that the things to do with the children to bond with them is going to be super expensive. At least we don't have to pay for the music. It's already been sung by some healthy music, please. Right? It's been sung by someone. All you need to know is pick the right one and play along. You can tell them, so this week we're learning a song and this is a song, so let's learn it together. Trust me, you'll be putting a smile on that beautiful child's face. Do you know what it means? I'm learning this song, mommy, and we're going to play the song later. It's heartwarming. I even feel it from where I am right now because they love music. And like the last speaker said, right? Music has been research has shown actually that music has a huge impact on cognitive development and abilities. The singing and even learning a musical instrument, any musical instrument, any. So even as simple as the flute, right, or the mouth organ, it's powerful because it's working on their hand-eye coordination, and it's also working on their left and right brain are working together to build something beautiful. So music is so powerful. So you could even incorporate it into where you tell them. So guess what, friends, children, I want us to learn, say, 5, 10 songs in a day, in a week. And so here are the list, here's the album, and then we'll sing together while they are in the washroom or preparing for you're going somewhere. They will take it so personal. All you need to do, create a structure around it for them, and then they will love it. So we have music education. It varies from learning different songs, singing, musical instruments, whichever one is fun for them. You just let them pick. And that's program the watch. You can actually harness it into them watching more informative programs, right? Someone said something to me today that information births desire, which births action. Meaning, if I feed those children with the right information that will equip them properly, they will have better desire. They will desire better things. And from that place of desire, their actions will produce good results. So, as we journey, we are encouraging parents, right? That music education is very key. And the blessing of this is these children love to learn. They actually love, they are so explorative that you buy a new toy today and tomorrow it's boring to them. Have you seen such creative mind and power in a child? Right? You buy a new toy today and tomorrow it's like the toy is old. And so you Sometimes what happens is you're tired. You're like, "Ah, but I bought something. You have a new, go play with the toy," right? So music can help you solve that, right? You give them a new song, they can't finish all the beautiful songs we have out there. And yes, so music education is very important. So get some, begin to set it aside to musical instruments if you can afford, whichever one you can. If you can afford any, please get get them to sing songs. You could write out the lyrics and bring them out, show it to them, read it to them. They would listen, because music is life to the soul. So please, we encourage you to engage them with more things. And it's been shown that it's one major form of education that has the capacity to improve cognitive development by over 6%, which to me is something we're not harnessing so much, because we feel, I don't know where to start. We just giving them the lyrics to a song. Start also singing it to them, and singing it for fun. You could just stand and sing and just be happy for like an hour with them. They love it. They want you in their space. These children want you so much in their space. They are ready to, give up a lot of things. They don't have to beg for our attention to get it. Another thing is board games, right? We have a lot of board games that helps to improve cognitive development, and these can actually help to reduce the times they will spend on screen, right? Examples of such board games is chess. I I actually did some research on chess, and it's amazing what I'm discovering, how it can move a child from 0 points in his cognitive work, that's maths, English, and sciences, to from zero down to like 100%. That's chess. And so, yes, rather than them just watch random cartoons and videos, why don't you sit and play a chess game, and probably they will beat you at it? It's better, right? Play it with them and it'll be fun. So another one would be gardening. Back then we used to just garden for crops, not for fun. And we never really understood why we were gardening, why we were growing our fresh crops probably at the corner of the house. We never understood the benefits of doing it with our hands, getting our hands dirty. You were not cheated. Why are we cheating them right now, where we want to keep them all inside the house in some safe space where they are not allowed to give out this energy, right? Right? They have to. We shouldn't see it as a dirty kind of play. It is fun play. And it doesn't have to be 10 plots of land. They love the play. Oh, so mommy, have you checked the crop? And they are learning it in science. Could you just get a simple you know, this poly bag, fill it with sand, and let them put their crops and water it. And spend 30 minutes observing and recording. They will love it. Do love it. So I'll just wait on the question. So extracurricular activities for the children. In fact, I don't want to call it extracurricular activity. They are actually part of their everyday activities that would help improve their cognitive abilities. And so we're saying music education, board games such as chess, under music education, get musical instruments, keep them busy, and they also want you in their space. They don't have, they don't know what boundaries and barriers are, right? let's let's change the narrative. Let's major on the minor, which is family, and not our 9 to 5 job. We build everything else. We intentionally take our time to build everything else, but the family comes after we have put in every other thing before the family. we've put in every other thing before the family. So this is a call to say there are a lot of activities to do, varying from music education to chess games to singing to dancing to gardening to cooking to reading with them. All right. Thank you very much, Sister Twin. And I'll be in the comment section. Thank you.
Awesome. Wow, thank you so much for that session. Extracurricular activities. You've touched on very important things. I loved your first statement. You said children love being with their family. You know, that's really poignant. That was awesome for me. Children love being with their families, and I think the whole point of this session is to make the most of that time. So thank you so much. I have a question. You know, I'll be taking off from where you were rounding up from, and you said something about, you know, being intentional about building our families. So someone may be saying, "Oh yeah, that's easy for you to say. You know, I'm busy. I probably am a medical doctor. I have to be on call. I work in media. I need to travel. I mean, busy, right?" So what would you say practically to that parent who really feels like their hands are tied? I really do not have the time. What would you say to that parent? And how can they, you know, manage this and still have time for their children? Yeah.
Okay. So what I'll say to the parents, and I say to parents, is you already know you were going to be busy, right? So can we create just a little structure for this child or whoever will be with this child? Just simple spelled out structure, right? Whatever you can explain to the child in 3 steps, please don't go ahead with it. What do I mean? So I want to use a name, Daniel. Um, First of you're on leave for the first 3 months, and then so the baby is 3 months. You have to structure play. You have to structure play. You have to plan for play, right? You have to plan for it. That's how they learn. They learn by play. They never get tired. Their energy level is up, and you want to harness it properly. So you already know that from 3 months, you have to structure the play and the activities, not give the child to TV or cartoons and all of that. So whoever will be with the child, of course, you have to let the person know. And I believe you receive the scroll for that child. You know how God has called you to raise that child better than any other caregiver. And so this is also a call to parents to please come in, pull in, and let everyone else, you have to enlighten them on the scroll that has been written for that child. You have to let them know, okay, so we're doing all phone and gadgets while you are just doing the house. You're going to have the child, besides after 3 months, they are going to be still napping for a very long hour. And basically, they won't be doing a lot of movement and all of that. But after, let's say, a year plus, what can you do? Different toys, puzzles, you could get puzzles, building blocks. You could have a nice, simple play pen and even a sand tray where they just have fun. You can't take out outdoor from a child. They love to play. The difference is do not just feed them just the screen. So create structure and have everyone that you brought in into their space understand the structure and give these people time, because they are also coming from a place where they don't have that structure and understanding. They don't even know the importance of playing, right? Play is actually part of the child's formative stage. We shouldn't take it away from them, right? And screen is not their thing. To we've given them, we give them the screen as a way to say, hold it first, I'm busy, coming. Just hold it, I'm coming. So create a structure, especially to those around that will be working with you and journeying with you on this parenting journey. And from time to time, check up on it. You're on a call, you're busy, at least follow up when you come back, 15 minutes. And then you to give that child, all I'm asking for is 15 minutes of your time per day to find out from the child. As they even get older, they want to be in your space. So 15 minutes. So how was your day today? That is heartwarming. So if I were to ask you to this, Mrs. Toyin, how was your day? I hope you're fine. Won't you like it? Won't you give me a clap? You will love it. You will feel so special. So imagine a child, they love it. So how was your day? So come and tell me about your friend. Just give me 5 minutes story. Just 5 minutes story. The literacy the child has been struggling with, the child will probably just feel so heartwarming to share with you. Right. So thank you very much. Create structure.
Okay. So, I mean, towards the end of that, you kind of began to show exactly what structure means, because you have to remember that we are not educators like you know, so you may need to break down what you mean create structure, because that may still be a barrier for some people. So when you say create structure, what does that look like practically? You know, maybe you can
Okay.
give, like I said, you already started giving some examples, but can you just give something concrete that someone can take as a template and then replicate in their own particular circumstance?
All right. So when I say create structure, I mean create a routine. So what when they wake up, maybe you won't be around. So say the child wakes up at 5 a.m. You want the child to wake up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. depending on their age. And if it's a
Hello, we can still hear you.
quiet time or his quiet time, let them know, and you tell the child, honey, I'm introducing you to quiet time, right? And you're going to be reading this portion, or whoever the caregiver is, you're telling them, so let the child do this for 15 minutes. You don't want to get them so bored. So 15 minutes, 6 a.m. to 6:15, you're just having a very brief quiet time. It's not difficult, it's not hard. It's just time with God, special time with God, and He wants to talk back to you. No pressure, no lording your own personality over them during that period, right? Then from 6:15 to 6:20, you would also, and let them also suggest to you, because you don't want to just lord yourself over them. Sometimes they want to have the quiet time and brush their teeth and get ready for school before they have breakfast, but share it with them in such a way that they don't make all the decisions. You are a guardian. We are guardians. We are guardians, and we will definitely account for them. So you structure it such that, yes, the morning routine, and then you go to school, you come back from school, you let the caregiver know, okay, so it's a school day, we would rather do an indoor play as against watching TV. So they come back from school at 4 p.m., take a bath. After the bath, you have them check their homework. After the homework, would you like to have an indoor play? The indoor play could be puzzle fixing, right? So say 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., puzzle fixing while you make dinner, or they make dinner and dinner is served. You could either do puzzle fixing, you could either go play a flute, you could either sing with the caregiver or whoever is with them, and then 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., could we read again? Wouldn't you like to read? And I want to say this at this point, right? Children would always do what they see you do. Meaning, if they see more of you not doing anything and just on your phone, they will follow that exact footstep, right? So the modeling principle is You want them to do something, you have to do that thing, and you have to be that thing or be that person. You want them to read at 6 to 7, they have to see you or whoever is with them read. You want them to have such good habits, you have to also model such good habits. So, say 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., you want them to read, you want them to play an instrument, you want to be with them, you want to have your sit down time with them, then fine, go ahead. 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., let the person know. 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. is our family time. Everybody's at the table, everybody's bed. Trust me, right? They would always keep to your time. Would you keep to your own time? That's usually the question. Most times the children keep to the time, but the parents, we hardly keep to time. At 8 is as if 8 p.m. is 8 a.m. and we want to go back to work. So making out that time such that you probably put them to bed early, and you probably might have to lie down, because I always have to do that most of the times, then till they sleep, and then I probably wake up to do something else. All right. So this is a structure. Saturdays is usually probably for some children who probably will do their homework in school on Friday, or maybe they will do their homework really fast. Then you say, so what am I going to do them between 7 a.m. on Saturday morning till 8 p.m. In the evening? So that's going to be quite challenging, but I would say this: there's nothing too difficult, right? Saturday, make it more of, if you're not available, then make it more structured. Get more games, but don't bring out all of them at the same time, right? And also, outdoor games saves you a lot of stress, where they are in a safe outdoor space and they could play for a period of 2 to 3 hours, especially
Okay.
children between the ages of, say, 4 to about 10. They love to play on the field, they love to run around, they love to play in the sand. Allow them do it.
Awesome.
Allow them
Thank you
even
so
come
much.
up with their own play. They have a lot of play strategies and ideas in their minds. Allow them do it. They love it. Thank you.
Awesome.
I hope I've been able
Awesome.
to give
Sure. I
or
mean,
share some ideas around
you've done
structure.
really well. Yeah, that's really good. Really good. I got two things from there. Routine. So that's the English word for structure. Routine. So it's about creating a routine, you know, having a kind of plan that helps you know what your child should be doing at a particular time of the day, of the week. So I think that's helpful. That's helpful for me, and I hope it's helpful for other people as well. So they're able to action that. Another thing you said is modeling. That's also really important. So, I mean, children, you know, while they are growing up very young, they really can't differentiate between mommy and myself to a large extent. So they copy what you're
Exactly.
doing, you know. So as much as possible,
As
you have to model what you expect them to do. So if you don't want them to eat in the bedroom, then you can't eat in the bedroom as well, you know, and things like that. So yeah, thank you so much for that. I'd like to take some questions from the online audience. First person here is saying, how can parents identify their child's interests, strengths, and choose the right extracurricular activities for them?
all right. So I'll say allow them explore, and their interest would change as age also comes in. We can't keep them 2/7 in the room. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So you can't keep them 2/7 in the room, indoors, and expect to identify their strengths, their interests, and all. You have to create time within your busy schedule, in quotes. Create time and take them out, right? you have to, you have to, you have to let them go out, explore their environment, explore their environment, explore not just within the compound. You have to also make them go out to mingle with other children because you want to know how they also give feedbacks, how they receive feedbacks. Simple soft skills as sharing, caring for one another. You have to let them do that. And you can't find that out by just keeping them within your space or in your box. And sometimes they actually know what would interest them. You ask. You ask them. I have a child, right, that loves to sing. She's singing as she's writing, no matter how complex maths work is, she just enjoys to sing. But then again, her parents are very inclined more to, math, English, science, and all of that. And she will give them the good grades. But then again, music is something she loves to do. Music and swimming. She wants to just do it on the side. So she walked up to me and said, "Could you just let mommy know that I can still do the good grades and still do music and still do singing and swimming just on the side?" And I'm like, "Why don't you tell mommy yourself, right? Tell her that you would love to do music and swim yourself." She said, "But she might not listen. She might not like the club." I said, "No, you tell her that I have something to say to you, and don't be rude about it. But can I let you know the kind of activities I would like to do?" And then they will tell you. And the impact of these two activities would even skyrocket her grades, her math, English, and science grades beyond what she currently has. So you have to ask them. You also have to take them out. Some of them already know what they love to do, right? They already have an inclination to it. So they'll just share with you. For the younger ones, is exploration all the way till age 6. Like
Awesome.
zero, you have 0 to 3 to 6. You have to keep letting them explore. You have to put them in space, right? And the younger ones actually have a chance at language learning when you go out there, when they explore other activities. You just keep exposing them to as many as you can.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome.
There's
Thank you
this
so much.
experiment about the plants. When you don't expose the plant to sunlight, what happens?
Yeah.
Right?
It does
And
away. Yeah.
you carry out two experiments. The one outside will blossom, the one inside loses sunlight and nutrients to grow. So we are guardians, remember. As parents, we are guardians.
Yeah.
We are not to lord ourselves over them. Just imagine God lording himself every time over us. Right. Thank you.
Okay.
I hope I've
Thank
been
you
able
so much.
to answer the
Yeah.
question.
I believe so too. I got 2 words from there: explore. To allow your children explore. And I was smiling while you were saying that allow the children go out. I'm like, okay, is there space in my compound for my children to do that? So it's interesting the kinds of environment we've built for ourselves that are extremely limiting. You have houses being built in ways that there's really no play space at all. But anyway, we find a way. You also talked about the fact that the children are actually experts in their own life as well. So they may know their own interests, so we can simply ask them, especially as they grow older. So thank you so much. The next question here says, what do you do if they keep destroying musical instruments over and over again? 3 keyboards have been destroyed, and it became discouraging to get another one. So what do you do?
You buy more. You keep buying. That's the beauty of parenting. Do you know how many times we can we can if God counts our sins, right? some of us, the scale would not be balanced. So 3 keyboards, only 3. Mommy, I want you to say 3,000. Please keep buying, because there is a skill, there's new sound that to be birthed through that child, and so we would harness it.
Yeah.
They
I think
will outgrow it on a more professional. They will outgrow it, but you can't just give up on that, right?
yeah.
Music education is more the the cost of the 3 keyboards out it's less than the beauty that is being harnessed. The beauty being harnessed is greater, far greater than the cost of the 3 keyboards. We all know the impact of screen time, right? A lot of things, the impact it even has on, children with special education needs, right? So would we rather take the easy way out of it? We have been called into an assignment, right? It's important we keep our eyes and our gaze on the assignment and do it aright than take the easy way out, right? Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I think if I may add to that answer as well, I think you may also want to look at if you need to train the children in how to use those instruments. And the other thing that comes to mind is what is their age? Because you can't buy a book for a 3-year-old and say, don't tear it. They have to tear it, like that's what
They will
3-year-olds do.
tear.
But when they are 5, 6, 7, yes, you can start explaining that, okay, look, you need to take care of your books. So age, you have to look at their age. If they need to be trained on how to handle it, then you have to do that. Then are you forcing the keyboard on them? So perhaps they want another instrument entirely. So these are things you may want to check, because we've all been children, right? You know the things you do when you don't want to do something. All right. So
Exactly.
another question here.
Just to add to what you
Okay.
said, right? This choosing a musical instrument or taking on music education. Some persons, let me use myself for example, right? If I'm asked which musical instrument would I love to learn at this age, it's weird, but I think I'll rather go with the drums, right? And you see, it's not so conventional to find a girl child who won't play the drums. So they'll rather tell you move over. But ask me personally, honestly, I think I love the drums. Why? I love the loud sound and the hip hop kind of sound that comes out of it. And so I love energy giving songs, right? So just imagine, and you buy me a keyboard, I probably would not even be interested, right? So ask. They might just want to play some other musical instrument, right? Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, I believe we're learning a lot. So there are some comments here. Someone is commenting about school closing time and the loads of homework to be submitted the next day. I can actually remember a parents teachers meeting I attended years ago, and the parents were like, the homework is too much, you know. So yeah, I mean, how do you, from your perspective, knowing that, I mean, you've spoken that extracurricular activities actually help to develop children's cognitive abilities along other spectrums. So knowing the importance of this, how do you advise parents to handle late closing times, massive amounts of homework to deal with, that's probably eating to any structured time for extra play that you want to plan. So what can you say about that?
Okay. So the school has their reasons, right? for what they do and everything they do. But I also believe that their goal will not be to punish the child to a point of losing the child. So I think first off, call with the administrator, and a call with the administrator first, and letting them also see the beauty and power of harnessing extracurricular activities, healthy extracurricular activities, right? And incorporating it into the schedule. So, what would your suggestion be? Enlighten them on the positive impact of extracurricular activities first. Then next, what again should you do? Suggest to them that they, you know, limit the homework level to 3 days in the week. The school where I lead, right, we do 3 times in a week. Homework is not every day, every day, every day. So the school will listen, because sometimes the school is running on a drive for academic excellence. But now research is showing the impact of extracurricular activities on academic excellence. So they need to see it and that into vision. So some schools have seen, some schools are cheering it on, and some schools are yet to get it. It doesn't make them, it means that they need to grow in that aspect and in that area of information. So I would say go sit with them and listen them, let them see the beauty, and share some of this research with them. I'm very sure they'll be open to some changes. Now, I don't want to go into this anyway. I want to say every parent has been given the school of their child. So in choosing a school for your child, you must know, you must look into the scroll of that child, and to choose a school. You don't just take them to every school and any school. Does the school meet what God has asked you to guide that child in? Do they have this to meet this child up, and can help support my parenting journey that God has called me to? I think during the last interview, Mrs. E said something, that one of the community she built was school community was, which was ICS, not the one she left to ICS. So we must also be open to God to help us make all these decisions. We don't parent from a place of the entire community. We parent from a place of faith, which is sitting down first with God, not just from a place of convenience. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. So I was going to jump over
I can't hear
something
you.
you said earlier in the talk, but you've touched on it again, and I just want to see if you can take 1 minute to just explain that a little bit. You talked about the scroll of the child, and some parents may be like, did I miss the memo? I didn't get any scroll with my child. What are you talking about? So do you want to explain a bit, what was that? What do you mean by that?
Okay, so what I mean by that is I'll read I'll read a scripture. Please permit me. So I want to read Matthew 18 verse 10. Please permit me. Like I said in my intro, I'm a practicing believer, right, of Jesus Christ. So I want to read the scripture to us. Mm. Okay. All right. Matthew 18 verse 10, and it says, see, you do not despise one of these little ones, for I tell you that in heaven their angels always see the face of my Father is in heaven. Right? It means that these children, right, not just fall from the sky, they came from heaven, because there are angels angel that has been assigned to them, right? It means that God had them in mind when He created them, when He took time to form them in a womb. He had something all mapped out for them. I think first speaker said they were also created by God, the special needs children. They were created by God, meaning that every child has been designed and sent by God to fulfill something here on earth. They did not just happen on earth, they survived journey without a plan, without God's plan for their life. So when I say scroll that has been written about that child, I'm referring to what has God written, what has God said this child has been set forth to accomplish, right? So that is exactly, you have to go and see. And it's not just the journey of the mother. You say, maybe it's only the mothers that will go and sit down. What did God say to you about the child? No, it's the mother and the father, right? You sit down and then he tells you what has been said and how you should carry out this child. And we say this a lot. No two children are the same. Of course, each of them had a scroll written out for each of them. Each of them have guardian angels written as I'm standing by them that leaves the presence of Yahweh every time. So he has something written out for them, what they should do, how they should do it. We see a lot about a child like Samson in the Bible, where in his school he was never to shave his head, right? And so those children in your house right now, God will do some certain things. If you sit with him, you explicitly hear, and then you would know those who have been called into the ranks of intellectuals. You just see them naturally inclined to books and they just love it. So it's not a time to shut it down. You are not inclined to it. It doesn't mean that the child has not been given that dimension or that space of being in the presence of intellectuals. Rather than shut it down, watch and probably learn. Besides, by a guardian, he sends them through you. He is entrusting them to you. So go back and ask him. He'll tell you.
Awesome.
All right. I hope I've
Okay.
answered that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Wow, thank you so much. This has been a very, very inspiring talk and enlightening as well, and equipping talk. Thank you so much. So as we round up, I'm just thinking, trying to put myself in the space of a parent who is hearing you and thinking, okay, how do I go about this? Do you have any maybe pointers to resources that can help a parents? Maybe some templates they can print out online to help them, for example, in creating structure, some examples of activities that they can do. You talked about reading and stuff, maybe bookshops where they can get books. Do you have any pointers to any resources that can be of help?
Okay. So depending on your particular location. So let me start off with the one that I love so much. For example, aging your children with the word of instilling faith into your children and not loading your own desires, but letting them work with their own passion for God, right? You would want to get them, you want to get them the Bible, right? But thinking they might not like it, or maybe you got them one, they don't like it. So I'll recommend the Hands-on New Living Translation Bible. It's a very good Bible shops. I got some from a Bible book share in Accra. If you are in Accra, it's a challenge bookshop. They sell it, and I know you also order online. It's on Bible NLT, no filtered version. NIRV version is also very interesting. I love the hands NIRV version. It's very colorful. They want to also engage on their own, and also Ziva Leadership Foundation run a Bible study and Kingdom Leadership program today where we meet the children between the hours of 9 to 10:30 a.m. in the morning. We run on Zoom every Saturday. Yes, so we have teachers who come and teach Bible study, and we also teach them we teach kingdom leadership. That's habits of a kingdom leader. Right? We run the program doing this for about a year? No, not up to a year now, 9 months, and we're getting feedback from parents as well. Yes, so we have that platform as well. On the platform, we share homeworks, we share some activities with children to do after the classes. Also, as of now, we're still working on our curriculum actually, so I can't give out that information if it's fully as yet, but we're working on having our website and supporting Christian parents actually in such activities. If you need any other one, I think we'll get back to everybody at the end of the conference. All right, thank you very much. I don't know if that was helpful.
Yeah, that was helpful. Yeah, and surely we can get back to people after this meeting. All right, thank you so much for your time. I think that's where we round it off here today. Thank you so much for taking time out to share your wealth of knowledge with us. I believe everyone on this call has been impacted, has been equipped, and is beginning to evolve and elevate. So thank you so much, Ms. Ufoma. Let's show our love for Ms. Ufoma as she has rounded off. Yeah, and as well, you can type in your key learnings, your takeaway from this session. Are you that busy parent? So are you making a decision to carve out some time and create bonding time with your children, create structure for them, create routine? I want to hear that from you. All right, so yeah, put in the chats. Let's show our love for Ms. Ufoma as well. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Awesome, wow. It's been a good few hours today, and we're just starting. So tomorrow is another day, 4 p.m. We'll be here again to cap it off for this edition of the International Family Conference. Thank you everyone who has joined us right from the beginning till this time. I'm so excited. I have personally been changed already, and I know that's your experience as well. We're sorry for some of the technical glitches we had in the course of the event today, and by God's grace tomorrow we'll make sure those are, as few as possible, if possible not at all. But thank you for bearing with us. Thank you for staying till this time. And of course, the good thing is that you can always come back to listen to this. So faith comes by hearing, right? Not having heard. So you have to listen again and again. So keep this link, like this channel, subscribe, so that you can come back and listen again and again. So, but tomorrow is the second dose. Be ready, 4 p.m. So if you're going to the market, go very early in the morning and be ready by 4 p.m. So 4 p.m., same station, will be live. And please tell a friend to tell a friend. Anyone who wasn't here today, make sure they're here tomorrow. All right, so we'll call it a night today, and have a blessed night, and see you tomorrow. Thank you.